true. You're the one who lit me up. Can't take me much higher. Yeah, you're the one who lit me up. Help me, baby, can't you see that I'm on fire? Tell me, baby, I'm on fire. Tell me, baby, can't you see that I'm on fire? You want me near, can't say I don't want you to. But you're gonna get burned if you come too close, it's true. When you're the one who lit me up, don't you dare saying I didn't fight for us. It's the tension between us. You want me near, can't say I don't want you to. You're gonna get burned if you come too close, it's true. You're the one who lit me up. Can't take me much higher. Yeah, you're the one who lit me up. Tell me, baby, can't you see that I'm on fire? Tell me, baby, can't you see that I'm on fire? Tell me, baby, can't you see that I'm on fire?
good, gotta tell somebody. Blows my mind when I see a hot body. A hot body. Makes me wanna fall in love. Makes me wanna fall in love. Don't stop now, just get ready. Move like a pro, girl, it ain't no hobby. Looking so good, gotta tell somebody. Blows my mind when I see a hot body. A hot body. A hot body.
Everybody get up, it's a party song. Everybody get up, it's a party song.
Nice. Mhm.
Hello everyone, welcome back to LRS Premade, and things are looking very interesting as we are going to be having two first place teams taking on each other tonight. It's going to be a battle for blood. This is going to determine what's going to go through during the standings, especially for seeding, and getting that first seed is very, very important. It gives you a better chance of moving on, and it gives you a bye into semis, so I guess that's what everyone's trying to do here tonight. Everyone is going to be playing their hearts out. So right now we're just waiting for a couple more players. But what do you think is going to happen tonight, Ove? Who do you think is going to take the cake?
Ooh, that is a tough ask. I've been looking over some of the match histories. These are two very close teams.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. I mean, the records notwithstanding, even if you just look across their solo queue ranks, the type of champions they like to play, it's it's two very evenly matched squads here.
Definitely. Well, last time the IDNM were actually on the stream, they ended up losing their game up against Regicide. So I think they're looking to come back here and show us what they've got. And yeah, like you said, match histories are showing that they're very, very close teams. They're playing very, very similarly. And they're just playing well overall, and I guess they're both deserving of this first place seed. We'll just see who's better on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that it's such a hard thing to quantify when we're talking about who's actually a better team when
Exactly.
the only sample size we're gonna get is this best of three that we've got in front of us right now. You know, you have two evenly matched teams play each other 10 times, statistically speaking, you should get a 5-5 result out of that. So
Mm-hmm. Well, personally, I think that this is. I think IDNM is looking for some revenge here after their defeat last time on stream, right? So they're going to be coming back hungry. RTT, this isn't their first time on the stream, but they are looking. They're probably just looking to have a good game here and take it home. But I think IDNM is looking a little bit hungrier, especially after their upset last time. There can only be one, and this is a very important game. This is all about seeding.
yeah, and I mean the stakes are always higher when you're playing for seeding, and that's something that hypes up a lot of players, especially those players that are known for the more pop-off moments. They're not here to play for consistency. They're here to play for the win. So
Exactly.
we'll have to see if that plays a factor in any of our matchups tonight.
And I think it might be. I just think both teams are looking as spectacular as they are coming in. IDNM were able to bring it back and have won a lot of their past few games, and we did catch them only like a few weeks ago, long time ago. So it might not even be the same IDNM that we saw last time. They've probably gotten some more cohesion, more synergy between each other as teammates. They probably played a lot more solo queue together or duo queue, just probably getting to know each other better as players. And I think that's very important. And getting that synergy is gonna be what wins games because everyone here is around the same skill level. So now it's just about working as a team and playing well together as a unit.
Yeah, and another thing that factors into that is how well you can adapt patch by patch as a team. You know, you'll
Mm-hmm.
you'll have some you'll have splits that go long enough that you'll start in one meta and you'll end up in another meta. And the teams that do the best job at adapting to the changes that come patch by patch are the ones that are going to find the most success.
Exactly. With these jungle changes, some of these carry-oriented players are going to have a little bit of issues, but I still think that these players have more than enough time behind them to figure out what's going on with this meta and hopefully have a good read. So we'll see if this is going to affect them, but these teams are definitely worthy of this number one seed. We'll just see who gets it. But everyone is ready to go. We are just waiting for everyone to load up and ready up. But there are definitely a lot of caveats here. This could be, it could be a good matchup, but I don't know. Considering how things have gone, a lot of first place teams have faltered as they've come on stream. They've, it wasn't just the last one that came up. The matchup before the week beforehand did not go as well either against the first place teams. It was just a stomp. So we're hoping for a bigger show up, but we'll see what happens today. And I think these teams have it in them. But last time with the LRS, it just didn't happen nearly as well last time with the two first place teams. So I'm hoping these two have something in their back pocket, something to show us, something spicy.
Yeah, and that's something that you see later on into a lot of splits is the first place teams, they continue accruing victories, and then the pressure to continue staying undefeated or as dominant as they've been. You know, they get hyped up, they get their heads a little bit big. Some players at least. It is tougher, I think, to hold on to that same level of success mentally.
So there is going to be an emergency substitute coming in for IDNM right now. So they are going to be losing
Okay.
a ban. So that is what is happening.
Yeah, and that type of situation, you know, with so many strong picks on this patch that we're currently sitting at, you know, losing a ban can be really important, especially when you have those pesky one-trick players on the enemy team that you basically have to burn a ban on, even if it's not a particularly meta champion. You
Exactly.
just don't want to give anybody comfort in this level of stakes match.
And once again, there's also just a lot of picks that you do want to ban away from the res side because you can't first pick everything as blue. But we are going into draft, so we'll be right back in just a second as we do see what is going on here, what bans are going to come through. So it is going to be that Teemo ban because they did unfortunately have to bring in an emergency substitute. So that is expected from IDNM for ban number 1, but we'll see what else is going to come through for them. They still have 2 more. We'll see what they are able to bring to the table. And it is going to be a Senna ban first for the Rising Tide Tsunami.
Senna makes me think that they're already looking at a Kaisa angle, which I mean, it's a little bit hard to pull off unless you've got a read that they aren't going to first pick it on blue side because they do have that priority selection. That would be an interesting ban if it gets locked in. Vi, you know, it's a very consistent champion, but it only does one thing.
Exactly.
So if you're comfortable on it, then maybe it's a tool that they just don't want RTT to have.
They have that one identity that they play for, and maybe they're just trying to take that away from them. But the Lilia ban away from their jungler is very, very smart. Lilia overall is one of the junglers that did not end up suffering very, very much from those nerfs to the whole jungle as a whole. She's still able to do her job, she's still able to output some damage, and she can even be a supportive champion if needed.
But Tristana, I like that ban because more recently it is also targeting mid lane champ pools a little bit, so it's a good way of getting back some of the pressure that they lost on the Teemo ban, but also it's just one of the top 380 carries on the patch right now.
Definitely have to agree, Tristana is very, very strong. She's run rampant in solo queue and in competitive play, but it is going to be a smart Seraphine ban from RTT, and if you are going to ban that away, that does not give IDNM the option to just first pick away that a god tier champion, in my opinion.
Notable outliers from the draft that didn't get taken away, I'm looking at Udyr, I'm looking at Skarn, anything that abuses
the
Chem
Skarner.
Tank actually.
It is going to be that
That
Skarner
could be
picked
really
up for
cool.
IDNM. They aren't going to first pick that Kaisa like you thought. It is going to be that phase rush jungler, that Chem Tank abuser, Skarner.
Which means RTT with the Senna ban will be able to pick up the Kaisa here if they opt for that. 2 of the other good ADCs taken off of the patch. I don't see any reason for them to not pick that up here.
Definitely. I would like to see either a Kaisa or maybe even a Caitlyn Morgana if they are comfortable on it, but it is going to be the Kaisa locked in for Alcora. Alcalora down on the bot side, followed by an Aurelia blind. Very, very interesting.
That is really interesting, especially since in recent memory Aurelia doesn't really get picked up mid very often. It is almost entirely locked into a top lane role as of recent memory. So, you know, I mean that's a big energy move right there.
I'd have to agree with you there. Aurelia is one of those great counter pick champions, but she does have a lot of ways where you can deal with her as long as you pick the right comp against her. We'll see if Mullen Axe does have an answer for that, because the Aurelia mid is not as viable anymore, but it is going to be a Xayah Rel picked up, taking away that power support from the Kaisa duo. She's not going to have that free engage with that Rel. It's going to be that nice supportive Rel with that Xayah, and Xayah overall is a decent 80 carry, but there are still some that are above her in the tier list.
I have to assume the Xayah pick is just for the comfort of being able to be on a champion that has a lot of self-peel. Also, I really enjoy the Rel takeaway. That's what I was just about to suggest. They're thinking way ahead of me. The Alistar counter for Rel. I love that.
Alistar is just one of those champions that has a really easy way of forcing Rel out of a fight. And they are going to ban away that Rise here from Doinby. I guess not letting Doinby have his signature champion. Pretty interesting. That Rise.
Now, if they're going for the full ban out on Doinby, they're definitely going to have to take away the Nautilus mid.
The Nautilus is pretty scary.
I've seen clips of that.
very scary, but it is going to be that Orianna, that control mage. So 2 control mages taken off the table, but Azir is still left up, and it is going to be the Corki ban away from IDNM.
Yeah, and Azir actually would make a lot of sense as a ban for IDNM here, because they don't want to allow any more zone control and scaling into the mid lane. It's one of the reasons they're taking away Corki, is to get away from that package, get away from a really high scaling mid laner.
That makes the most sense. I would love to see an Azir ban because it just gives them a lot of safety, because Azir's very good in the side lanes. He's very good at just staying safe and not solo dying, but it is going to be the Rammus banned away from Dardoch Fanboy. And I don't think that Rammus rework has come through, so he's not bouncing over anyone. Naguma's not been. So I'm surprised
Not
to see
quite
that one
yet,
come through.
but he is building Kim Tank, he is running at people. I like the Sejuani pickup. That gives them a lot more teamfight presence than they had with their first 3 champions.
So the Sejuani pickup here, because she knows she's into a Skarner, is actually very, very good. If you are going to pick up that Sejuani, you can never do it blind right now, because there's just a lot of champions that are a lot better than her in many ways. But that Skarner is very straightforward, so having ways to gank from unoptimal angles for the enemy team, that's what you want. You want surprises, and being able to gank that Kai'Sa, or gank that Xayah from, you know, over a wall with that R, or just dashing over the wall with the Q is going to help out a lot. But we'll see what the top lane and mid lane picks are going to be for IDNM. And it is going to be the Nico locked in, most likely for the mid lane. Could potentially go top, but we'll see.
It's been quite a while since I've seen a top Nico. I'm going to tentatively put that mid as we wait for this next pick to come through. And Nico blind really isn't that bad, actually. I mean, you get some free wave clear with the champion. She's very safe with the ultimate. She can do some fun juking shenanigans. But overall, just one of the better blind pickable mids now that stuff like Orianna is off the table.
As well as the buffs to Everfrost, it definitely does help her out. And it is going to be the Jax pickup here, and I think he's one of those champions that's very, very strong into the Aurelia. He has a lot of ways to mitigate her damage, but you have to respect the Aurelia early game. The level 1 to level 6, she is incredibly strong. So it's up to Molinax to respect it and see what happens. Just play the lane out slow, you outscale, that's all you have to do as that Jax.
Yeah, the Jax is a pretty expected, one of the more streamlined and accepted counter picks into the Aurelia. You are absolutely correct though. Pre-6, it is still kind of annoying, especially if the Aurelia is good at what she does. And there's the Azir that we were talking about coming through for RTT. A very strong, very straightforward, semi-explosive teamfight lineup, especially with Kai'Sa being able to dive backline like she can.
Definitely. And just in case you are wondering, chat, this matchup was just brought up to our attention literally 2 hours ago, so we weren't really expecting this to happen. So thank you for the flame for no reason. Thank you very, very much. But we did not really know that these were the teams that were going to play. We had other matchups in mind, so this criticism is very, very unnecessary.
It is also just very difficult from an analyst caster standpoint to look at draft of 10 players that you have never played against nor watched, and just assume to know that we have an idea of what they like to play. But I stand by my analysis based on the patch itself and my knowledge of champion matchups. So,
as well as just meta picks in general. I think that
I
your
think it's going to make
fine.
a lot more sense watching these picks fall into place. We see their gameplay.
Definitely, and I'm expecting both teams to put out a lot of work here. Everyone here is fighting for first place, and I mean, we're gonna see a big fight here. This is bloody, and I'm expecting it to be very, very bloody because a lot of these matchups are very explosive. Other than the mid lane matchup, the Kai'Sa does want to get ahead early. She wants to be looking for those all-ins because she does outpressure that Xayah. And the Aurelia wants to get ahead of that Jax because if she ever is only even or behind, she's not going to be able to do very much come the late game.
Yeah, I would expect top to be dueling a lot. I would expect the bot to be dueling a lot, especially post 6 when you've got engage tools on both sides. And you've got the ability to dive with stuff like Alistar ulti.
Exactly. So there's a lot of ways for them to go in, but there's also a lot of ways to deal with what IDNM has drafted. But I think both teams overall, it's mostly about execution.
Yeah, both teams have the ability to side lane with their top laners. They both have the ability to team fight very effectively. Quite a bit of AoE on both sides, and I would actually hand the superior pick potential to IDNM drafting up that Skarner.
So they definitely have that high pick potential, especially in that mid and early game. But as QSSs start to come in, I do think that the Skarner pick tends to fall off once those gold purchases do tend to come in. But when you think about it, that is 1,300 gold that you are expending in order to counter that Skarner. It does limit his options, yes, but he's also making you pay a tax, and that's almost 7k as a whole team if you are going to purchase only QSSs.
Yeah, you can typically get away with not grabbing a one up on one or two of your characters that you really don't mind. I mean, Alistar gets a free one off of his ulti,
Definitely.
so you don't need one on him. Sejuani would rather be in the middle of the entire team, but Azir and Kai'Sa absolutely, and Aurelia, if he ever plans on diving and not side laning exclusively, is also gonna have to pick one up.
And I know buying QSS feels very, very awful, but you just gotta respect the pick. Like, the whole reason you pick Skarner is to go for those suppressions, is to go for the Impale. That's the only reason you are gonna pick that champion. So you have to respect it, and we'll see if RTT are going to play around that cooldown, keep tabs on what they have in store for us. But we'll see if the Skarner does go for the cooldown build with Lucidity boots, with that Transcendence, to look for some very, very cheeky ultimates while those QSSs could be down.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite adaptations that Skarner players have made since he came back into the meta off of the power of Chem Tank, and it also might just be one of the reasons that they picked the Skarner over the Udyr, which was left available all the way through draft, by the way. The de facto strongest pick on the patch with his win rate currently, so.
Definitely. I think he is one of those strong junglers that can take over games if he is allowed to. He's allowed to run around the map and just be a nuisance. Be almost unkillable and on those 2 or even 3 items. He's just a nuisance to deal with. But Skarner can almost be like that as well. And he does force the tax. His CC lasts a lot longer. He has 2 ways to keep you in one place. And he has the ability to pull you in. But what do you think of this mid lane matchup? I definitely think the Neeko pick is very, very good. It helps a lot with big team fights, but she does not scale very, very well. So she has to win this early game.
She has to win the lane because she's not going to match up at all against Azir in the late game. I mean, Pop Blossom's a strong enough ulti in mid-game team fights around a dragon, but it's not going to hold up against 3, even 4 item Azir wailing away with soldiers. But as far as the actual lane matchup goes, it's really not that bad for Neeko. You can keep him at arm's length. You're not going to get poked down too heavily by soldiers, and people really underestimate the amount of auto attack damage you put out once you've got your W online. You get that 3rd proc every couple of autos. It gets really annoying to deal with.
Neeko is very, very powerful. She's been picked up in both support, like as a support and mid laners in competitive play, and she just is very good as a champion. She has a lot of tools to her advantage, but once again, scaling is not her forte. She does not scale very well. But what do you think about the bot lanes here? Xayah, I do feel, is one of those AD carries that can outscale the Kai'Sa if given enough time. But Kai'Sa will always be able to burst her down. She always has that damage. She's able to just use that hail of blades to output so much damage in such a short period of time.
Yeah, AD carry for AD carry, Kai'Sa just has way more damage output. If these two are ever isolated in their matchup, Xayah really just shouldn't be there. But in a team fight effectiveness, I do think Xayah gets an edge. I think the breakpoint is probably at 3 items, but it might be closer to 4 with how strong Kai'Sa is right now.
And I definitely have to agree with you there. It would require that 4th item on that Xayah to be a stronger team fighting champion, but it will always go to Kai'Sa for that isolated duel. Kai'Sa, no matter what happens, will usually be able to kill that Xayah if both champions are playing properly.
Yeah, and as far as the actual lane matchup in bot lane goes, I mean, Xayah is one of those champions who does just want to farm and scale, because typically you do get you get less diminishing returns on more items than your opponent ADC does. And with the Alistar into the Realm matchup, they're not really going to be looking for that many engages anyway with how potent that counter engage is.
There is a lot of counter engage on both sides, but I want to see this Alistar make some roams, affect that mid lane, help that Azir get through this rough early game that should be coming through. But we do have our predictions open in case you guys do want to vote for that. Place your bets, everyone. We'll see which team takes home game number 1 in just a little bit. We're heading to a loading screen, so we'll be right back. You don't want to miss game number 1.
I saw you smile from across the bar. Yeah, she was pretty and so close but so far. She flipped her hair and I thought this can't be true. How does a man like me get someone like you? And then she looked at me and I was confused. Everyone here can't be the one that she'll choose. And I looked back and saw the spark in her eyes. This can't be real, my head's telling me lies. Just like them, you're coming closer to me. Come shake me, grab me, so I wake up from this dream. I can't breathe, come at me. I don't know if I can speak. Then she said, come with me and let's be free.
Alright everyone, welcome back. Here we are, game number 1 taking place here. IDNM taking on RTT. This is going to be very, very interesting. We'll see if the Tsunami is able to take down the ones who do not matter. We'll see if the ones who do not matter actually matter in today's matchup. But we'll see what happens here. And hopefully you guys have placed your bets. We are going to be closing that in just a second. And we do see some counter invade potential coming in from the red side. But it's just going to look like a 5-point from IDNM.
Yeah, IDNM protecting all their jungle entrances, really standard stuff here. I like the counter invade stack, especially because typically with a Skarner you are looking to get in sometimes early and pick up those spires for a little bit more info, and also for the early gold. It can't be overstated.
Definitely. Getting that 15 gold could be a little bit of an edge, and just getting that spire down by the Dragon Pit also helps out quite a bit. Just so you have that mobility. And it looks like the Jax is going to set up and try and help out his jungler by getting some of that early spire control down in the bot side. Or down at the top side. My bad.
Yeah, no priority on it actually from either of the bot lanes, which is a little bit interesting, especially since Sejuani opted to start red. I haven't seen that very often,
So,
but it could be just looking for some vertical jungling here, because there is a ward down on the blue buff from the Skarner goes for.
so we did see that bot lane actually step up, so it was known that the Sejuani was starting on red side because that bot lane was spotted out on that minion wave. So they know where the Sejuani is. They should know that she was on her red buff, but she is just going to path down and grab that blue buff. She has the ward on it, but Skarner is just looking for that full clear, that 6 camp, just to make things even. And we'll see if the Sejuani looks for anything cheeky. Maybe a quick level 3 down in that bot side, because her bot lane should be able to shove this, and then it should push back towards them. But that is a flash forward already onto I'm the Banana. And Invictus Rakan is already at half HP, and was forced to burn nothing, unfortunately. So they weren't able to grab any summoners off of that. It was the flash. But now that Alistar has that Hex Flash active, he's very, very happy with that one.
A lot of heavy trading up in the top lane. Moonhax after the double Q is sitting at just under half.
Yep, and I think that's how the matchup is supposed to play out, especially in this early game. But here comes Dardoch Fanboy looking for something here in this bot side. We'll see if he's going to be able to make it happen. Invictus Rakan is low, but they aren't going to be able to find anything. And some damage from the Xayah is going to do a little bit, but it's not going to be all that much. But Doonby, unfortunately, taking a bad trade up in that mid lane. But here comes the return. We'll see if he looks for anything, but he's looking to just path towards that scuttle. Gonna take that one and be happy with that. We'll see if the bot lane does disrespect the Sejuani being in the bot side, but a beautiful combo landing onto Sigi, and that's gonna mean the Invictus Rakan is gonna fall. That first blood is gonna go to the Alistar with that Ignite.
If at first you don't succeed, stand and
again.
Tribrush and wait for a better opportunity, I
Definitely.
guess. A
Worked
very
out.
interesting path here early from Dardoch Fanboy. Buff to Gromp to 30 seconds in bottom try, but it pays off. And he's also going to be able to pick up Scuttle. He's not getting double Scuttled today, so honestly, it could be much worse. They do get that first blood gold down. Unfortunately, going to Alistar, but there are worse things.
There are worse things that can happen, but that is a stack of Ravenous Hunter over to that Kai, so she is definitely going to be happy with that one, as well as some gold in her pocket too. But unfortunately, it is going to mean that the Skarner is going to get a gigantic CS lead. He's already up just over 10, and is going to leave one chicken up in that Raptor camp, so that the Sejuani is going to have to clear that one soul chicken, and he's going to be up just a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to be up a little bit of gold, a little bit of XP. It's a bit of a wash in the gold overall with the first blood going over, but it will get him to his first item faster, and as we all know, the first item for Skarner is really annoying to play against.
Yeah, the chem tank. And they are looking for a topside gank here. Your mommy is going for something. He is going to be able to walk it out, though. So they do see that. And Dardoch Fanboy is in the area. They could look for a 2v2, and I do think they are stronger in it, because Skarner does not have sticks.
Is Skarner stickless currently? There is a bit of a level disadvantage up in top lane because Aeolus hasn't been able to pick up this wave, but should be able to safely farm it under tower, and we'll have to see how this top lane matchup looks post 6, because we are getting close to it without too much action happening in the time where Aurelia is stronger on paper.
Definitely. But we've seen some good trades coming out of Aulios up in that top side. He's playing it very, very well, playing the matchup properly. Looking for those short trades because Jax overall does do a lot more damage as the fight goes on. We'll see what the first item breakpoints are going to be for both of these top laners, but I'm thinking it's just going to be a Bork versus Bork matchup.
I can't see it really going any other direction. Both champions utilize the item too well for them to prioritize anything else first.
So Jax is actually going to look to jump on them. He is going to go wide, and this is going to be a stun because the Q is not active, and this might just be a solo kill up from Molinax. Flash forward, or flash away from Alios, and this is just going to be a solo kill. Flash forward from Molinax is going to claim that one, and that is our first kill for the Jax in the top lane.
Really patiently played there from Molinax. He had not only the item advantage because he had already backed and picked up the Vamp Scepter, but also he just sidestepped the stun very casually, held his E until Alios went for any more trading and was able to walk him down the lane.
Yep, and that's what happens if you don't respect that Jax. You have to walk away if you miss your E, because Jax is able to jump on you because you have no resets. It's very, very skill expressive. If one of these two champions messes up, it's very, very rough for the other to play.
Yeah, and it is an almost immediate punish, both because the lane is so long and also because both champions have to be in melee range to deal any effective damage to each other. You're pretty much always guaranteeing that any misstep is punished with at least half of a health bar, if not more.
Definitely. And so far, the gold lead is slightly favoring IDNM, but that is just about 300. Things are looking very, very well for both sides. Both of them have picked up a kill. One of them, unfortunately, is on that Alistar, while the other is on the Jax, the scaling pick. But Alios is looking for something. He's able to land the flawless duet, and the Vanguard's Edge going to land. The auto attacks are being dodged out here, and Molinax might be able to walk this one out. He did activate that ultimate, so he is very, very tanky. And your mommy sitting in the wings. He might be looking for something. Does not have that 6, however. Looking to shadow his top lane and make sure he doesn't get dove.
With Vanguard's Edge down, that dive is never going to happen, but I do appreciate your mommy sitting there looking for better opportunities, going to clear away some vision here. They actually also rotated up Doinby, just in case there was any TP shenanigans. It could have turned into a 3v3. Some good awareness from the players, even if the play didn't amount to anything.
Definitely. And that's just what you want to see in a team. Some rotation, some good synergy. They're communicating with each other. And that's what you want to see out of these two first-place teams. Both of them are keeping an eye on where everyone is. They're backing off at the appropriate times. And they're just being where their team needs them.
And we are starting to see a little bit of CS lead grow in the mid lane. About a wave up currently, and some more minions to collect here for Doinby than there are in the wave for Raikage. So we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Ooh, Raikage. Flash forward from the Skarner. It's going to mean he's going to get suppressed, and the root is going to follow through, and Nico might just look to use that ultimate to keep herself in. But here comes the Emperor's Divide, and it is going to keep him safe. They are going to look for something here, and Molinax might have just stepped up too far. The flawless duet might just land. It is going to finally land. Here we go, and the Q is going to land stun up from the Jax. And the second R, the Glacial Prison going to land, and he's going to try and use that Warhawk to get away, but the Leap Strike is not enough, and Aurelia's going to claim that one with the Blade Surge.
Really clean layering of CC there from Dardark Fanboy and Alias. They didn't overlap anything. They waited for the E to burn out, and you can be an alcove gamer all you want. When you've got those two champions on top of you, you're gonna die.
Definitely. The Sejuani has a gap closer, the Aurelia has a gap closer. There's a lot of ways to catch up to you. And, oh, Banana's back was stopped, so he's not going to be able to take that nice reset. He is going to have to base and lose a lot of XP because of that. Or he's just going to stay in lane. We'll see what happens. But, well, nice stop of the base from Invictus for Khan. Looking for something. A little advantage. And, surprisingly enough, they are actually up in CS on that bot lane, and the Alistar is going to look to freeze this wave, try and help out his AD carry, but it is going to be pushed on their tower because he is getting poked out. He's able to sustain it up with that passive.
It's actually a little bit unfortunate for Banana there that he didn't get to recall. He is sitting on about 1,200 gold, which for a support at this point in the game is, it means quite a bit in terms of effective stats and how close you can get to your next item, so... He is going to be looking to reset soon.
You definitely want those Mobies as early as possible, and stopping that reset is very, very helpful. But this is just going to be an invade, because that Alistar is very, very weak. They're going to look on the Sejuani, and she is already caught up, rooted up, and suppressed. The Impale coming through, but that is going to be some anti-synergy from Invictus for Khan. The Flash is going to come forward, and they are looking to collapse here, 4v3, but Sigi's stuck on the wrong side of the battle. It is going to be a stun up onto your mommy, and he's very, very low. Dardark Fanboy is going to be taken down in the first place. I'm the Banana is very, very low. Skarner is going to go down, and this is just a bad fight from everyone. The Emperor's Divide going to keep two of them alive. Raikage is very, very low, and Alcalora is just going to be able to walk this one out. And that is a burn of Summoners and Ultimates, and that's just not what you want to see right now. Well played from IDNM, just getting that blue buff, getting a couple picks, although it was not as clean as it could have been.
Yeah, it could have been cleaner. The Ferromancy crashed down from Rakan. Not quite where it needed to be, but that is something that's difficult to time in a split second. You don't know exactly when your Skarner is going to ult if he's not exactly calling it out to you. And that could have been much worse, actually. Raikage got with a very good Emperor's Divide to keep his and his ADC alive. Very low health bars on both.
One thing to note is both the Kai'Sa and the Xayah were able to pick up both of those kills, but keep in mind that the Xayah was able to push in the wave because she was still very, very healthy. She's now sitting at a 20 CS lead over that Kai'Sa.
Yeah, 20 CS lead, and you can see that in the fact that she's finished up the Gale Force and is already back out in lane, while Alcalora is, finished boots. That accounts for quite a bit of it, but is also just not quite at that mythic breakpoint yet.
So they are looking for a dragon fight. They are looking to take this one away, maybe get that second Drake, help them out a little bit. It is going to be a mountain, so that means the soul is neither mountain nor ocean. And here comes the Skarner. He's going to Hex Slash over the wall. He's going to look for the steal. The stun is going to come through, and it is going to be Sejuani claiming that one up. And the Skarner is going to be the sacrificial lamb. He is going to fall for that attempt.
I mean, it has to be one of those things where you feel like your death isn't actually worth not picking up that dragon there, because there's a very low chance that you're actually going to be able to grab that with how much CC is in the pit. I mean, the fact that he got the smite off is pretty impressive in and of itself, but it's a low percentage play, all things considered.
Definitely. It is a very risky play, but I guess he just didn't value his life. But the Q is going to miss from the Sejuani. The Glacial Charge not going to land. And the Headbutt Pulverize is going to miss. The Gale Force is going to keep him alive. And a lot of damage coming down to everyone here. First Blood is going to go over to Dardark. He's going to take that one, but he's also very, very low. Raikage is sitting in the wings, though. They might look to redive this. And they are going to look. The Flash is forced, and Sigi is very, very low. Does not have the Featherstorm, and still does not have a way out of this fight. Skarner is sitting in the wings now. This could be a fight onto him, because they are all separated from each other. And the Skarner is going to force the Emperor's Divide. Aurelia is diving onto Molten Axe already, and they are going to back off from each other. But well played from both sides, and that's just going to be a dead rel once again. And that is a 3-0 Kai'Sa. Very, very scary.
Yeah, 3-0 Kai'Sa, incredibly strong, has enough to go back and pick up another component. It was a very clean dive, all things considered. I mean, you get to dive a lot for free when you have Alistar on your team, but juggling tower aggro to make sure that he doesn't die when the ult runs out, that's communication.
Definitely. Well played from them, and they knew when to back off because both their Sejuani and their Alistar were very, very low after that dive, knowing not to stay, not to look for anything. And I'm the banana with those mechanics, placing that control ward, making sure that Invictus were constantly able to grab that one.
Yeah, but now we're seeing the point in the program where both supports have left the lane. They're both looking for roams around mid at this point. They're giving support to the other side of the map.
LRS is getting solo kill up at the top side. Flash forward from Molidax gonna claim that one. And well
Once
played from
again,
him.
yeah, Alios is just up a little bit too far in lane without the resources necessary to survive. I mean, you have the flash, but without Vanguard's edge, you have to assume that Jax is just going to match your flash for the solo kill.
Definitely. And the Jax also is at that item breakpoint with that Blade of the Rune King already completed for him. The Aurelia did opt for those plated steel caps to mitigate some of that damage, but she just had no chance. The item breakpoint already came through, and she stayed just a little too long.
Stuck around a little bit too long, stuck around a little bit too low, and now we're seeing the timeline where you're not going to be able to leave Aurelia in the sideline for very much longer, especially without Flash, unless you expect her to just sit under tower and not farm, or just take the risk of getting solo killed or ganked again.
Definitely. This Aurelia is now a liability because she has given over 2 kills. Molten Axe is very, very strong. Has those Merc Treads to stop that CC from the Sejuani and the Alistar, as well as the Aurelia herself. And she is looking for something. They're going to land the Flawless to and deal a lot of damage, but here he comes once again. And Dardoch Fanboy is sitting in his back pocket, but he is spotted on that ward, so Molten Axe is going to back away from that one.
Yeah, that pressure of sending Sejuani up there is going to relieve the minion wave that was pushing in and getting frozen. So they are going to be able to get that one under tower, reset the lane a little bit for Alios, make it a little bit safer for him to be up there. But it's, all things considered, it's really just not that safe, even with a even lane state.
It's not ideal, but the Rel might have been caught out, going to be pulverized and headbutted back, but she's going to use that for Permanency Charge over that wall to keep herself alive and safe. So, a nice try from I'm the Banana, but unfortunately Rel is a newer champion. Oh, we see this mid lane. Both junglers are waiting in the wings, waiting in the back pockets of both their mid laners. We're going to see what's going to happen. And here comes the Rel and the Xayah, looking for something, and they are going to be spotted out here. Everyone is coming. Everyone's coming for this mid lane. But it's just going to be ships passing in the night. They're just going to walk away from each other. Almost something fun, but unfortunately it's just going to be an even trade on both parts.
The Sejuani sitting on the ward created the Mexican standoff that I wanted to see, and then it didn't amount to anything.
It just fizzled out. It was very anticlimactic. It looked like it was going to be an amazing team fight, but unfortunately nothing came of it.
No, both teams smartly not willing to burn any resources before the dragon comes up. We see that timer in about 15 seconds. That's one of the biggest mistakes that lower elo players make, is they burn ultis and summoners before drag.
Definitely. And that's not what you want to be doing. You want to hold your summoners for those key fights. Sejuani could have looked for a pick here, but everyone is waiting in the wings. The Jax has already started walking, but the Nico is a little late to the party, but so is the Aurelia. They are going to look for something here, setting up a little death rush, but Molten Axe just jumped over and is stuck in the middle of 4. He has no way out of here. He's going to jump into 4. He's going to try, but he is already taking the half HP, but the Skarn are going to land something, and the Emperor's Divide onto 4. Going to mean a lot of damage, but a beautiful Pop Blossom onto 4 as well. The Nico's plays incredibly well out of demand. Banana's going to fall, and this is just going to be a team fight win for IDNM. They're playing it very well. Doinby using that stopwatch, keeping himself alive, but Raikage outputting a lot of damage from the backside, and now Delora is doing a lot as well. Invictus Rakan is the last one standing, and it's not going to be a team fight win for them. It's going to be a team fight win for the Tsunami, and they're taking a wave over this one.
Yeah, it looked really good at the start for IDNM. A fantastic magnetize into the Pop Blossom, but all of the damage went onto the three non-carries. Both Raikage and Alcalora were able to just sit at the edge of their auto attack range and output damage for the entire team fight.
That is what unfortunately did happen. The Nico ultimate looked good, the Rel engage looked good, but you're right, it was all on the wrong targets. That's what caused this fight to go the wrong way. And I think it was also the fact that the Jax got stuck in a bad position so early in that fight. He had to jump in to try and make something of that team fight, because he pushed himself in such a bad spot. Put himself in that dragon pit with no ward hop available.
Yeah, no ward hop, no flash, and that's just that's a bit of a head scratcher. You just sent your strongest member into what was effectively a 1-on-5, given how far away IDNM's remaining members were. But I think the biggest thing that came out of that team fight was the fact that, you know, RTT is on Soul Point at 18 minutes. This is going to be a 23-minute fight
He's going
for
to be
Soul.
stunned up, but Sejuani's going to dashboard, going to land that Glacial Prism, but it's not going to mean very much. It's going to be an ultimate for not very much. But like you said, yes, that is Soul Point at 18 minutes. Very, very scary. That means they bought themselves a hell of a lot of time.
Yeah, not only do they have a lot of time, they have the pressure of knowing that IDNM has to fight them at every drag from here on until they take 4 of them themselves.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, if it were any other soul, maybe they could afford giving it up. But you just don't give
Oh
Infernal.
no, what are you doing, Sigi? He's stuck in the wrong spot. He's going to flash away, but he's going to fall to the Ignite. It is going to tick away, and it's another kill for that Alistar, but he stepped up way too far.
I mean, even if Alistar wasn't there, we talked about it in
It's
Champ
never
Select,
gonna work.
There's no world where Xayah ever wins that 1v1.
She was already losing it before the Alistar showed up to help, but the Banana's here, knocking away that Starner, and that is going to be a steal for the Sejuani, and Apparently is going to land onto 4 of them, and here comes another Pop Blossom, but they just don't have the damage. They are able to take down the Kaisa. They might be able to win this one. Woolen Axe is still alive, but he's getting CC'd up to oblivion. He is going to fall. He does have that counter-strike, but it's not going to mean that much, because here comes the Azir. He is not going to be able to land that one. The auto attack is going to come through. Is it going to be? The Time Warp Tonic is enough, but no, it is not. That stab is going to mean enough. Stab and jab from that Azir means he is 4-0.
That's a little bit unfortunate. Mullen Axe, I think, either misclicked on the blast cone or was trying to dodge a skill shot that just hadn't been thrown yet, because he actually had just enough time after the leap strike to probably jump to tower. I don't actually know if it saves him or not, but the little stutter step was indicative of a slight mistake being made, which is really sad to see.
A very, very small misclick which caused his death, but he might have died either way, but it's a small liquor error. But in the grand scheme of things, it's still a gigantic win for RTT. They were able to grab that Rift Herald. They were able to mitigate a lot of losses. They only lost that Kaisa in that fight, and it was most of IDNM falling for that one kill.
Yeah, and that's just another resource, neutral objective on the map that they claim for this early game. We're only 20 minutes in, and they've picked up 3 of the early dragons, all 3 of the early dragons, and one of the Rift Heralds. So, you know, we're looking at a state of the game where if IDNM doesn't slow it down and start playing as safe as possible, and maybe give away some of these outer towers, they're just going to get run over.
They are definitely have the scaling factor in their favor, but they're just playing a little too aggressive, taking some fights where they just don't have the damage. And unfortunately, they didn't have Sigi there. Sigi is one of their strongest members right now, having that gigantic CS lead, having a bunch of the kills to his name, but he got caught out and they still tried to fight out that Rift Herald.
And I'm looking a little bit across the CS differentials, and mid lane is really starting to show as a weak point. I mean, you pick Nico to be the bridge for your early game while you get your scaling online, and you're up against a champion.
Oh no, the Glacial Prism is going to land,
so
and this is just
hard.
going to be a dead Sigi. Bladestorm is coming out, but is this going to be enough? He is going to use the Gale Force and is able to walk out of that one. But that is the Featherstorm down, and that is very, very scary. Right before the Drake as well. 37 seconds on that one.
Featherstorm, Heal, and Gale Force, which is not a particularly fast cooldown in and of itself, so going to be very vulnerable come this this Dragon Soul that they once again have to fight. They don't have a choice. It's Infernal. You're going to lose to Infernal if you don't contest this.
A lot of these champions love those ratios. The Azir loves this. The Kaisa loves it. The Aurelia loves it. Every little bit of damage that they can pull out, they're going to take it with a smile on their faces, and it's just going to be a fight. They have to 5v5 this, and Sigi is a little late to the table. He is trying to make his way over, but they are going to look for something, and everyone is waiting. Everyone is here. This is going to be the full-on 5v5 that we've been waiting for.
Yeah, they are opting to actually show Sigi mid lane, shoving the wave. This should signal the start of the dragon, but they're they're clearing vision. They don't need to clear. Okay, the control
Oh,
ward they have to
oh
clear.
no, the Zaya's gonna get caught, and that is their damage down. And once again, the Nico gonna try and land a beautiful Pop Blossom, and it is gonna land, but they just don't have the damage anymore. Their Zaya fell right away, and that's just gonna be a Drake. And that is gonna be the Infernal Soul at 23.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Sigi's just not playing safe enough to really be effective in this game. I mean, that's the second time we've seen him get picked from Sejuani ult alone, and also the 1v1 mid that turned into a 1v2 very quickly when Banana showed up. That accounts for all 3 of the deaths, and at least 2 of the dragons.
Wolan's going in for something on Dardoch fanboy. He's looking for the solo kill. He might be able to grab it, but Dardoch is very tanky and is able to run away very, very quickly as well. And that Infernal Soul is definitely going to help that out, trying to stop him from joining that fight. And this is going to be an inhib. The Rift Herald is still alive, but it is 1 HP. Molan is tried. He's going for it. The damage from Sejuani is pretty insane. But, oh, he's so low. Is this going to be it? And the Void Seeker's going to claim that one. And Alcolora
Nice
going to take that one. Beautiful, beautiful Void Seeker.
And that's, I mean, you're in a world where Infernal Soul just got solo kill on
Kage
Jax.
forced to use the QSX. Oh, so it is going to be an FF.
I mean, I can respect that, actually. This game's clearly lost and you want to reset mental for the remainder of the series. That's totally fine.
And I think that's what they need to do. They did not perform in game number 1, but we'll see if they're able to pull it back. And overall, incredibly well played from RTT. They did their homework, they drafted well, and they were just overall able to make this snowball snowball into their victory.
Definitely a very clean game played. A very short game played by the side of Rising Tide, and everything fell their way. All of the dragons, a couple of the other neutral objectives, and basically every major team fight.
And that's not what you want to see. I think that a lot of it happened to be IDNM taking some bad fights in that early game and just losing it from those snowballs alone. They put themselves in a bad situation, and unfortunately, they fell because of it. They took some bad fights. They thought they had the damage, but they run out of gas really, really quickly in the early game. Once that Nico ultimate is blown, once that Skarner ultimate is blown, they don't really have that much damage left.
Yeah, definitely not. And I mean, Sigi getting picked the way he did in a couple of the later team fights definitely didn't help. I mean, that's most of your primary damage once the Nico ult is blown, because Molinax gets kited out by this team exceptionally well.
And those picks, that's what cost them the game as well. Sigi was performing very, very well, outputting a lot of damage in that early game, but it wasn't enough, especially when he was forced to blow those cooldowns because he put himself in awkward spots. He put himself in a 1v1 against the Kaisa, which turned into a 2v1. He put himself in harm's way next to a Sejuani. And unfortunately, the bridge that you spoke about, the Nico, did not do its job. She was landing those ultimates, but just wasn't able to output the damage, wasn't able to outpressure that Azir. And she had a CS lead early in the game, but Azir was just able to take over and not die. So we are going to go over to quick break. You guys can vote for your player of the game. And so far we do see some votes coming in. Thank you very, very much for that. And we'll see which team is going to take it home in game number 2. We'll see if they are able to, if RTT are able to claim this one, claim up game number 2, or if IDNM are going to come back with better mental and come strong in game number 2. So we'll be right back. We'll see which team or which player takes home player of the game in game number 1. We'll be right back.
I feel a little gray, my mind caught in a haze. Will these heavy storms ever pass? The cycle won't slow down. I'm stuck here on the ground, and all I want so high up above. It's easier to stay and mark myself in gray, mark myself in gray. Someone to dry all my tears. No, I'm not looking for someone to scare away the fears. No, I know it's not gonna happen. Don't believe in happy forever after. No one should have to feel this torn. We're unable to speak with voices to soar. We could do better than this. We could do better than this. When you stand in the middle of the crowd, I wanna know it's me that you're missing. We could do better than this. We are much bigger than this. When you stand in the middle of the crowd, I wanna know it's me that you're missing. Me that you're missing. Me that you're missing. We could do better than this. It's not that you're not strong, or that you know what I need. In the past I played along, so devoted I lost parts of me. This time it's not gonna happen. Don't need happy forever after. I let go of past if you do too. To leave now would be running from the truth. We could do better than this. We could do better than this. When you stand in the middle of the crowd, I wanna know.
Hello everyone. So, your player of the game, although it was a tie, we are going to give the slight edge over to Raikage after some deliberation. So, I think it was those key shuffles that was able to help the game out. And Jardok was definitely very, very imperative to their victory, though. He was able to provide those ganks. He was able to make sure his laners were able to stay safe and do his job. He was able to land some key ultimates as well, catching out that Xayah a bunch. But in the team fights, it was going to be Raikage as that team fight threat. He was outputting so much DPS, keeping himself safe in that backline, being able to get those clean shuffles off. He played incredibly, incredibly well. What do you think, Oath?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Raikage proved that many votes. It's difficult to play Azir that cleanly in the early game, especially in a matchup where you're technically supposed to lose on paper. Being 50 CS up after pretty impressive.
Definitely, definitely. So we are going to be going into draft real quick. We have things ready and set up. We'll see what IDNM are going to come back with in game number 1 or game number 2 here. So we are going to see a couple of bans come out here. We'll see what IDNM are going to go for. They do not have to ban the Teemo this time. They only have to ban it game number 1.
Yeah, they're back with their actual jungle rostered, and they are going to keep the Vi ban answered immediately by the Senna, so we're actually not seeing any adaptations just yet. There's the Tristana that we saw ban 3 after the Teemo, and now it's ban 2. That would be a change. No Hecarim in the last game, but taken off the table this time.
One thing to note is it is going to be J Crazy coming back here, so they have found their jungler, no E-sub this time. So it's not going to be
Could be a target ban specifically for him.
Yeah. Definitely. So they are going to first pick the Kai'Sa here for Siji. They want him on that champion. They want him to make those killer instincts will count. Use that Void Seeker, so it's going to be him on that champion. But it is going to be another first pick Aurelia for Aulios. And the Jax matchup did not fare nearly as well as we thought it would for IDNM.
Yeah, not particularly early in lane, and Aulios looked really clean on the Aurelia. The big adaptation so far is opting to do what I suggested the first time around, is to pick the Kai'Sa because you're blue side unless you're taking Udyr, which doesn't seem to be something they like prioritizing, so they were getting that significantly stronger ADC for themselves, that would be interesting. I haven't seen Braum in 6 to 7 business days, at least.
Definitely. The Braum is going to be an interesting one for Rakan here. And, I mean, it does help out a little bit. It does block away that Aurelia engage with that Vanguard's Edge and the Flawless Duet, but into an Alistar, I mean, it does definitely block a lot of that damage that did come from Alcalora last game. So we'll see what they are going to match that, or what they are going to respond with here after this next pick comes through for IDNM.
Yeah, and
it's
then
the
we see the Jax. You do have to
Run
pick
back.
that up. They run back the lane. Honestly, in lane, they were pretty evenly matched. The game didn't fall IDNM's way, but that's not necessarily. They feel it's not necessarily because of the Jax. I tend to agree with them.
Same here, and it is going to be that Xayah picked up, so it is going to be a trade of 80 carries this time. So it is going to be Stigi on the Kaisa and Alcalora on that Xayah. But the Alistar once again is picked up for I'm the Banana, and he played it very, very well. Those dives were immaculate. But the same bans are going to come through for them, the same control mages, Ryze and Orianna out of the picture, but no Sejuani for Dardoch and no Corki for Raikage. And it's going to be answered with a Skarner. So it's going to be Dardoch on the Skarner this time.
Both teams running a half version of I like that comp you played last game. I think I'll take it.
That's exactly what we're seeing here in game number 2. So it's very, very fun to see that we have some adaptations coming through from both sides. No Udyr, surprisingly, however.
Yeah, that champion's still falling by the wayside despite it being incredibly powerful. We'll see if it's something that they want to pick up here or if they're going to look for a different jungle matchup into this Skarner. It's still definitely on the table, still definitely abuses everything that it's capable of abusing, and that's what I was going to suggest is the only other thing it could
The
be.
Viking mitigates a lot of that peel. No suppression for you, Mr. Skarner. I am Olaf. I will run through your team with my Ragnarok. And the Alistar is going to be very, very useless against that Olaf, but he's very strong into the Syndra, into that Jax. But it is going to be skillful of the Syndra to be able to stop that headbutt pulverize combo with the Kiwi combo.
Yeah, I like this look from IDNM a little bit more. There's a lot of protect the ADC lined up on the side of RTT, and Olaf just kind of cuts through that straight up.
So it is going to be a triple or even quadruple damage threat coming through from IDNM this time. So it's not going to be on one person to do the damage. It's going to be on that Kaisa, on that Jax, and on that Olaf, but it is going to be that Mordekaiser picked up. So it is going to be that Aurelia mid up into the Syndra and mage food. That is what that Syndra is to that Aurelia. At least that's how it should go.
Yeah, opinion. That's an incredibly difficult lane to play as the Syndra, if that is the matchup that we do see.
And that Mordekaiser does do very, very well into that Jax as the game progresses. Yes, Jax will outscale, but that's just normally how it is. But Mordekaiser can take away those stats, can take away that attack speed, take away that damage. Although the Jax does scale very well, Mordekaiser is going to be able to keep him out of those team fights. And he can only ult the Jax or the Jax, Kaisa, and Syndra. He can never ult that Olaf because the Ragnarok will keep him out of there.
One thing that is worth considering is that now there are multiple forms of CC on the team for RTT that you want to QSS. So if you QSS one of them, it's down, you get hit with the other one, you're toast.
Exactly. There's the Mordekaiser suppression and there's also the Skarner suppression. So it's very, very interesting to see what happens. Which CC is going to be QSS first. And overall, I do like both comps here. They look very, very interesting. But it's going to be a little difficult for the Xayah to play it out because she only has that Alistar to protect herself here. Everyone else is going to be going in. Whereas the Kai'Sa's comp wants to dive, wants to push, wants to go into your face, go into your backline and destroy you from there. So it's very interesting to see that RTT did end up drafting the Xayah without much peel for her.
Yeah, it is a little bit interesting that they've got only really the Alistar as like a dedicated peel bot, and that is at the sacrifice of one of your major engage tools if you do commit the Alistar to just peeling. But Xayah, one of the best self peelers in the game, so it could be a lot worse, I suppose.
Definitely could be a lot worse. However, I do think that the identity of IDNM as the team is very, very cohesive. They just want to go in and do damage. They want to jump into your entire team. That's what they want to do. But the same identity it can be said for most of RTT as well, other than that Xayah. They all just want to go in and do damage as well.
Yeah, there should be some very explosive team fights, and one thing that's going to be really easy to cast on for my points of analysis is that basically the game is boiled down to a stat check with the champions that I see lined up against each other here. The team fights are such that one team isn't going to have the edge if they're behind in team fights. You should just lose if you're behind.
Definitely. I definitely think it's a lot harder to play from behind because both of these comps are very, very snowbally. If that Mordekaiser gets rolling, if that Jax gets rolling, if the Syndra or the Aurelia gets rolling, it's very, very scary.
And not to mention, you've got wild cards like Olaf, if he picks up a couple early kills, can choose a more damage-heavy route and just start running at Xayah, even running at Aurelia to a certain extent during one point in the game where Aurelia doesn't have the ability to just tank through the 6 seconds of Ragnarok that you get.
Exactly. And it's going to be interesting to see what we have here. Both teams looking very good, though, game number 2. Some good adjustments coming through for IDNM, but some good responses from RTT as well. And I think overall, some of these lane matchups are very, very interesting. A lot of Xayah's damage is going to be mitigated by that Braum, but there's not much else that can be mitigated. Although a couple of engage tools as well, like the Vanguard's Edge and the Flawless Duet, like I said earlier. Those are the only tools that can be blocked by that Braum shield. Otherwise, it just doesn't do very much.
I think it also blocks Skarner stun, but I mean, if you're looking for Skarner stun as your primary engage from Skarner, you've done something incorrect.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So you're going to get a lot of value out of the Skarner into this lineup because you drafted the Mordekaiser already, like I said. And the other thing is that the Braum pit kind of stands out to me as something that's actually pretty easy to abuse. I mean, Braum, not the tankiest of the tank supports, and also particularly immobile.
Definitely is. He only has one way out, and it has to be targeted as well. So if he's caught on his own, it's going to be very difficult for him to get out, especially against an Alistar and a Xayah going to be able to lock him down very, very quickly if he is caught on his own. And in this mid matchup, Raikage should just be able to take over here. Syndra is looking very, very tasty here. Mage food. Aurelia should just be able to dominate this one.
I would be very surprised to see Dornby do particularly well in this lane, especially pre-6. I mean, once you've got the level 4 online and you can put an actual damaging Q down on top of the E for the stun and the knockaway, you're not doing too bad. But once you get Vanguard's Edge in play, I mean, you're basically just staying away from your wave.
Exactly. It's pretty much doomed as a mid matchup if you let yourself get solo killed even once. But even if the Aurelia does fall once to that Syndra, she's still going to be able to play that matchup. But Aurelia is a lot more of a snowbally champion than that Syndra. But the top lane, if one of these champions gets a single kill on the other, that just throws the matchup in a completely different way. It's very, very scary.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you called it. The solo lane's super snowbally for both sides to a certain extent, and you know it's gonna come down a lot to the ability of J Crazy and Dardark Fanboy to affect those lanes in a way that will give them those advantages. Because if you can get a decent kill or even a flash off of the solo lanes before 10 minutes even, when they've got item breakpoints to actually kill each other in an all-in, then you're really swinging the balance.
Definitely. So we do have our predictions open in case you guys do want to bet on who's going to win. Is it going to be RTT? Is it going to be IDNM? I'm not too sure. Both comps are looking very, very spicy, but we'll be back in just a little bit as game number 2 does commence. So we'll see you guys in just a couple seconds, and we'll see who takes home the series. Is it going to be them? Is it going to be IDNM taking it home, or is it going to be RTT? We'll be right back.
I saw you smile from across the bar. Yeah, she was pretty and so close but so far. She flipped her hair and I thought this can't be true. How does a man like me get someone like you? And then she looked at me and I was confused. Everyone here can't be the one that she'll choose. And I looked back and saw the spark in her eyes. This can't be real, my head's telling me lies. Just like that, you're coming closer to me. Come shake me, grab me, so I wake up from this dream. I can't breathe, come at me. I don't know if I can speak. Then she said, come with me and let's be free. The night is young and I think this could go far. The sky is dark but you're my shooting star. Could see your face reflect upon the moon. It was a pretty summer night in June. And then she looked at me and I was confused. Everyone here can't be the one that she'll choose. And I looked back and saw the spark in her eyes. This can't be real, my head's telling me lies. Just like that, you're coming closer to me. Come shake me, grab me, so I wake up from this dream. I can't breathe, come at me. I don't know if I can speak. Then she said, come with me and let's be free.
Alright everyone, welcome back. Here we are, game number 2, RTT, already leading this series, the Tsunami. Starting to wave here against IDNM. We'll see if the No Matters team, the ones who do not matter, are able to make themselves matter in game number 2. But it's looking a little interesting here. Both drafts are pretty good, but I'm expecting to see an edge here in that mid lane. I'm expecting to see Raikage pop off here.
Yeah, I do expect to see some really good action out of mid here. And
Dardoch might be caught in a bad spot. There is a strong level 1 coming out here from them. The flash is going to be used, and Dardoch is going to be able to get away from that one. But that is at the expense of a summoner.
yeah, it is, and I mean, it's the kind of thing where you just don't walk far enough up in lane on the side of on the red side to see Syndra sneak into that bush. She's able to start it off. There's no CC, but just the damage and the fact that she procs phase rush and can keep chasing after you with the slow from the axe means you've got to back off. You have to burn flash.
And it's a good respect, knowing to just burn that summoner instead of giving over first blood this early and making that mid matchup a little bit harder. So well played from both sides, respect from Dardoch, and good invade from IDNM. So there's going to be a bot side start here from RTT. They are looking to start that blue buff, but there is some vision from both teams up in that red buff. Funnily enough. But the
Yeah, they both dropped one offensive and one defensive ward, respectively.
We do see that Olaf starting off that blue, taking that Gromp, and the Aurelia is already poked out very, very low. He forced to use 2 corrupting stacks. But here comes the counter strike, gonna land. And I think level 1 is where Jax actually does have a little bit of advantage because the Mordekaiser does not have his Death's Grasp or his gigantic shield that he's able to get. I think level 1 is the best time for Jax.
It probably is, because I know for a fact that the lane just kind of degenerates from there in terms of Jax's effectiveness in trades.
But good trading here coming from Sigi, getting that level 2 very, very early and looking to get some poke down onto Alcalora. And that is what you want to see out of that Kai'Sa. You want her to be ahead. You want her to be getting those leads. especially in that early game where she is a lot stronger. But that's a lot of CS going down here from Molinax, and he's not having the greatest time CSing under his tower, unfortunately. Ooh, but he is looking for something here. The counter-strike is going to come through and land, but he's going to leap strike away. And both bot sides are looking to just trade a little bit, you know, put a little bit of damage on each other. But overall, well played from both sides as of now. Not much is happening, just some pretty normal trades. CS departments, unfortunately, not looking too great if you are an IDNM fan. That Jack's sitting on 8.
Yeah, has dropped quite a few minions to the tower, is sitting at a really unfortunate wave state for him. It's super gankable, but they know for a fact that J Crazy's on the bot side of the map, so Alios can just stay just outside of tower range and keep wailing on Jax every time he walks up to try and hit a minion.
He should just be looking to Q every time he walks up like that. Every time he looks to auto a single minion, he should just be looking for a trade, because that's just how Mordekaiser's roll. But they did have that vision on J Crazy, and this is why the Mordekaiser is allowed to play this aggressively, and the mid laner as well. Raikage is allowed to step up here and output, or just stay in good range. But he is going to take a bad trade, but that is also going to be at the expense of Doinby's mana pool.
Yeah, don't be completely out of mana here. Is going to be popping the second to last Corrupting Potion, but honestly, the amount of mana you get out of Corrupting Potion is really not that much sustain,
It's
all things considered.
70,
Until
I
you
believe.
until you get Lost Chapter, this lane's just going to keep looking this way.
Ooh, Doinby almost getting caught by the Flawless Duet. That could have been a kill, but it is going to be risky to dive that Syndra, even if she is It is very, very early.
Yeah, without Ignite and even if Syndra's Scout of the Week is down, you basically never go for that dive. It's guaranteed one-for-one trade, even if you do get the kill.
Dardoch might be able to look for something here. He's going to land that stun, going to proc that phase rush and run away at the speed of sound. But the Alistar is there to make sure that Olaf is not going to look for any more shenanigans. And the wave is just not where you want to be as if you're a Molinax. And that beautiful Death Stress is going to force that Jax out of that trade preemptively.
Yeah, isn't able to proc the stun part of the Counter-Strike either, so depending on good spacing, Alios could have actually just walked back in there and looked for another Q.
I think so too, but he is a little bit behind because he was not able to get that level 5 because of this gigantic wave that he is sitting on here. And he cannot look to trade into it very much, but he is actually going to go for it, going to proc that passive. And he's going to be able to walk away. The Skarner is sitting in his back pocket, so that Jax is just going to be forced to back away.
And all things considered, the most action we see is up on the top side.
Oh no,
Both
J
junglers
Crazy's
doing a good job
very,
of
very
wearing
low,
it
and
down.
Doinby is here as well. It's Smite early, but yeah, Skarner's nowhere near. He is going to be invading on that top side. So that could have been a misplay, but he was able to burn that Smite, and he did have his mid laner and support there to keep himself alive.
He had the smite up, so there's no real damage of no real worry of taking too much damage there. Level 6 is up in the mid lane. Raikage could look for something, but his wave's a little bit too far up.
He also did miss that Flawless Duet, so he does not have another method in without landing that Vanguard's Edge, which is flashable. But J Crazy waiting in the wings here might be looking for something. He is going to look for the base, though. But Invictus stepping up, trying to place some wards in that bush, making sure that, you know, that Alistar is not able to get those crazy angles onto that Kai'Sa. But here comes J Crazy. He might be looking for that red buff, but there are some defensive wards placed already. This is just going to be a crab given the scuttle over to that Olaf. Putting him a little bit farther ahead, he is going to be about 8 CS up now. Skarner is going to be looking to take his blue buff and do his entire bot side. And overall, just well played from everyone, but Doinby taking a bad trade. This is in lethal range, but that QE scatter combo is going to land onto Raikage, forcing that trade away.
Yeah, and the more that happens, the more Doinby's mana pool continues to drop. The tier
flash
is doing
forward, and the
good
TP is going to come through from the Mordekaiser. He is here. He also has that Death Realm available, and it's going to go on to Sigi, and Sigi is stuck in a bad spot here, taking so much damage. Here comes the mace to the face, and everyone is down in the boss side. Molinax has also joined the fight. Doinby Award is very, very low, going to be taken down, and Invictus is just sitting in the middle of everyone. Alio's doing so much work here with that Mordekaiser, and Invictus going to fall to Raikage. Raikage getting 2 for his name, and and that is not where you want to see the kills.
No, definitely not. I mean, a fantastic response there from RTT off of the really nice flash setup play. You got the first TP in, and then as soon as both
Oh
TPs
no,
come in,
Alcalor walking up a little far here. Gonna be able to root up that Olaf and walk away, but that could have been
he's
very
fine.
bad. Could have been an overstep. Potentially. Olaf does have that burst potential. But, oh well. But Aulio's playing that fight very, very well. What do you have to think about that Mordekaiser? And it's also well played to Raikage got as well.
Judging by the time at which the TP was channeled, I have to assume that was just a really nice setup play with the fact that Alios was 6. They had already planned on him coming down
Oh, the
bot.
Syndra's caught a flash forward. Is not going to land that stun, but it's going to be Invictus Rakan stuck in a bad spot. The Impale is available. He is going to be suppressed and brought forward. I'm the Banana is coming, but he's going to be able to walk away from that one. And Scattered Weak combo is actually going to go wide. That's going to be an ultimate expended for almost nothing.
Yeah, Alistar and I'm trying to find a name a more iconic duo joke, except there's 2 champions and something that I want to say, so it would end up being a trio. I'm just gonna scrap the idea. They don't do damage, the 2 of them together, so they can't look for stuff like that really.
They don't really do all that much. They're a little, you know, they're very tanky, but they don't output a lot when it comes to that damage department. But for that CC department, they can keep you locked down for 5 seconds on their own.
Yeah, they do that very well. Killing people, not very well, but
That's
you know,
why you have an Aurelia.
I give them points for the effort. Yeah, you've got the Aurelia, unfortunately in base at that point in time, but you know, give it another 30-40 seconds before that
Mullen is
ult's
looking
back
for
up.
something here. No, he's just gonna be able to take that wave. Not gonna wait for that Xayah to look for something, push in an extra wave, wait for that greed. But I do think the Jax is able to kill that Xayah if he does wait, if he is a little patient.
Yeah, and that's definitely a kill. Without the Alistar there, it's minimum Featherstorm, but assuming that he has the capability of flashing.
Oh, he is
after
gonna go in,
Alcalor.
but the Alistar has already returned. Featherstorm is gonna come through, flashing away from that Blade Caller. Gonna keep himself alive, but if he just waited a little bit longer earlier, that could have been a kill for him, for free.
Yeah, not quite tracking the recall timer for the Alistar there. A little bit unfortunate that he has to burn his flash aggressively for nothing. Well, defensively
he's
because
going
of his
in again. Alcalor does not have the Blades or Featherstorm this time, and this might be a solo kill, but the Alistar is nearby, and that's a lot of DPS coming through, and Alcalor able to keep that one alive with On the Banana in his back pocket. But this is going to be a Rift Herald for J-Crazy. He's going to be able to pick that one up. So it is going to be a kill in exchange for the Herald, and plates are still up, so this could mean some money in the pockets of IDNM.
It's a bit of a puzzling move there from the side of Mullinax. I mean, you know how close Alistar is because he's actively clearing vision. You can actually see him, if not in your frame of reference, even on your minimap. So, I have to agree. I don't think there's any way that you ever actually fight that.
The only opportunity he had was earlier when the Xayah was on her lonesome and was pushing in that fat wave. She might have greeted if he just sat in that brush. But Mordekaiser's looking to take a 1v3, but he's not that tanky right now. But he is able to mitigate a lot of that damage with the shield, but the dive onto the Syndra. Oh, the Vanguard's Edge is going to go wide, though! And this just could be a botched dive. I'm the Banana is very, very tanky, though. Gonna be able to tank up one more, and Raikage is able to claim that one, but this could just be a kill. But no, he's able to get out, but here comes the Rift Herald, and this is going to be a dead tower, and this could also be a dead Alios. Flash away from both Alios and J-Crazy, but Invictus Rakan is caught in a bad spot, and the Death Realm is coming through. A lot of damage onto him. He also has the shield ready, and the flash away is going to keep Invictus Rakan alive, and Alios is going to be forced to walk away because there's 2 members waiting for him on the other side.
It's really well done, all things considered. They know they can't actually take Alios in an outright fight, so they just get the tower and spend their time avoiding him. They did a very good job of that.
But that dive was almost botched by Raikage down in that mid lane. But I'm the Banana for playing it very, very well, making sure to tank every little bit of tower damage he could.
Yeah, it gave him more than enough time to secure that kill even without the Vanguard's Edge. So, you know, you're looking at 3-0 Aurelia with the finished Blade of the Ruined King. This is a really scary time to be basically anyone on the side of IDNM, actually.
Even that Jax, the Aurelia also is sitting pretty with a 20 CS lead over almost everyone on the enemy team.
Yeah, everyone on the enemy team, everyone on her team, nobody out CS's Aurelia today.
She is very, very hungry, especially after the game 1. She's hungry for more. She's hungry for more blood after getting a lot in game number 1. But it is going to be a different player
on the
her,
map
though.
right now. Yeah.
Different player.
No objectives on the map right now.
I was just gonna
They
sit.
should just return to standard lane assignments, but we are seeing a lot of roaming from the supports. I like to see that because you know that you've already swapped your AD carries to different positions, so you're not going to be looking for anything down bottom lane, especially now that you've got a tower down. It doesn't even have to be the bot lane tower, just the first
Flash
tower
forward
that
from IDNM are gonna land, and Doinby is gonna be flashed on, and this is just gonna be him falling once again. And IDNM just playing incredibly well, finding these gank opportunities in the mid lane, and just overall playing incredibly well.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want to see out of your Alistar when you've got the opportunity to not be sitting on top of your ADC because you have to protect. You can look for opportunities to get ganks off, even if it's the ADC that you're assisting.
But here comes Dardoch onto the Jax, and he's the Vanguard or the Flawless Duet not gonna land, but the Vanguard's edge is, and this could be a dead Molten Axe. A little bit of anti-synergy once again with the Skarner and his teammates, but it still works out in the end because the Aurelia is just stat checking everyone.
Yeah. The premier stat check on the map right now is definitely Raikage got on this Aurelia. 4-0, still a hefty CS amount up on everybody else, but you know, this is the prime time for Skarner to look for plays like that before these QSSs start coming through. I mean, we're not going to see one on anybody for at least another 5 minutes or so.
One thing to note is the Mordekaiser is opting for a tank build. He is sitting on that Balmy Cinder as well as the Bramble Vest and the Plated Steel Cap. So he realizes that, hey, right now I just need to be a tank. I need to be a meatball for my team because this Aurelia is going to carry me to heaven above.
Yeah, you've already got enough damage out of your 2-0 ADC, your 4-0 Aurelia. Now, what you're using Death Realm to do is take out the strongest member of the enemy team or the most disruptive member of the enemy team, and you just let your team win the team fight for you.
There's no way that IDNM ever win a 4v4, so Mordekaiser just has to take out that strongest target, and it doesn't even matter anymore. He just has to be able to tank it up.
And with the items in his inventory right now, looking for a finished tank mythic, he's going to have no trouble doing that. Even if it's up against the Jax in the late game, Death Realm lasts long enough and steals enough stats that you should basically never die in it solo.
And if the Jax does ultimate early, there's just even more stats for that Mordekaiser going in. And right now, they are just invading on that bot side, just trying to get some vision, you know, playing this game out while they're trying to get that dragon. And it is not going to be that early soul point like last game, but it is going to be an early 2 dragons, though.
Yeah, and once again, there is, you know, no bad Drake outcome here. So we're not looking at Cloud. It's down.
Ooh, Raikage looking for something to do and be just walking through that one with no care in the world. And he's sitting on that top side, though, when the Drake is up, so they are just going to elect to give this dragon. It is only second dragon, not the most important one in the world, but it is going to be that Mountain Soul, and that's very, very strong on champions like that Xayah, because she is super squishy. Having that extra armor and magic resist, as well as a shield, if they do claim that soul, is going to be very, very difficult for that Syndra to deal with, especially as a burst mage.
Yeah, and it also allows for Aurelia to be even more reckless diving. Any amount of extra resistances you can put on what is effectively a drain tank once you get enough items on her to be a bruiser with that much healing.
Basically, with the way that you have to play Aurelia now, it is all about that drain tank playstyle, like the Aatrox. You just want to be able to heal up and deal some damage. Your damage is not the highest, although she is able to output a decent amount. Her goal is to just be able to do damage by making the enemy not deal damage to her, because she's able to lifesteal everything away.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder with the Blade of the Ruined King already built up, and what is almost assuredly...
Here comes the teleport from Molten Axe, but flash forward into that parallelogram is not going to mean much. Molten Axe is stuck on the wrong side, and there is the Impale still available for Dardoch. And that is a flash forward from him, and this is just going to be another dead Jax. And that is going to be the flawless duet. The heal is going to come through from City, but that's not enough. But they are stuck in the wrong side. They are stuck in enemy territory. TP is going to come through from the Alios, and he might be caught as well. But here he comes. He's going to look for something. He is incredibly tanky, though. Going to ult Sigi. And Sigi, no. Sigi, no. He's going to flash away, and Aurelia is looking to make some play on the backside of this fight onto J Crazy. But that Olaf is able to lifesteal so much, and that's going to be a shutdown for Sigi. Alios not able to claim that one in time, but this is going to be a dead one. Able to claim that one up is I'm the Banana, and do it be a TP win once again? No! He's going to fall, and the combo is going to land, and that's just going to be a dead Do&B. And the Death Grasp is going to be able to claim that one.
The TPs for IDNM are just not hitting. You see Doinby go down after the TP from Mullinax is channeled and he dies under tower, and then Doinby TPs back in after his death timer to die under tower.
Oh no, that's not what you want to see. RTT is playing this incredibly well, and the TPs from IDNM just not doing very much here. More like it's like the TP is like a trip back to Fountain, honestly. From what I'm seeing here, it's a quick trip.
No, absolutely. I mean, we talk about faster recall. What about improved death timer recall, where you just TP in to get to grayscale faster?
Very,
got a base
very
again.
True. And right now, IDNM is not looking on form right now, even with J Crazy sitting up in their roster this time. But they were able to get that shutdown on the Aurelia, and it went to the Kai'Sa, and that is where you want that to be.
Yeah, no, silver linings for them is the fact that Kai'Sa has been farming significantly better than some of the other lane matchups that they've got.
Definitely.
Is gonna be able to get away from Dardoch Fanboy just fine.
Alios.
And
very danky.
I don't know about that.
Very danky.
I don't know about that 1v1. I think if Elios has his ult, he just ults Mullinax and kills him. I don't think you can actually take tank
Dardoch looking for
Mordekaiser.
something. And he is going to be able to land a suppress onto the support. But I'm the Banana stuck in no man's land. Taking a lot of damage, but that ultimate, that Unbreakable Will is enough. But that Syndra just did 0 damage. But Olaf is coming through. He's found and he's doing a lot of work. But is he going to be able to kill that support? No, he is not. Dardoch going to smite that one away. And Raikage is looking for something here. Able to land some damage. Do&B is very, very low. Does not have the Blade Storm. And that is going to be Sigi taking another. Sigi claiming both kills on the Aurelia already. And it's interesting to see the Stride Breaker coming through here. I would have expected, you're very far ahead, and I think one of the new techs on the Aurelia is going to be building that Sunfire Aegis, because it gives you a lot of tenacity, it gives you some CDR, and that's everything you want on her.
Yeah, a very, very slight technical misplay from Raikage God after the Vanguard's edge landed. Did not pick up the free Q reset on Sigi before jumping to Doinby, and that is the kind of mistake that will leave Syndra at exactly like 15 HP and mean your death. So that is a huge shutdown going over to Sigi, the strongest member by far on IDNM. So
Sigi
to see
is
if it actually
pretty.
ends up mattering.
He is sitting at 2-2, got shutdowns though, and that's what you want to see. Sigi is playing it very well. They are going to contest for this Drake, and maybe, just maybe, they are going to be able to take this one. Stop that soul point from coming through, and Invictus is stunned up and it's going to be pulled away. Sigi, no, he's stuck in a bad spot and once again going to get killed. Dardoch Fanboy claiming that one, and Invictus for Khan is stuck on the back end as well, and the Olaf is forced to burn that Ragnarok to get away. But that just means that Mordekaiser has that Death Realm for this dragon. But Do&B is going to be stunned up by the Flawless Duet, and the Stridebreaker going to land. But Do&B has that phase rush. He's very, very quick on his feet. But this is just going to be soul points for
Yeah, it's definitely
RTT.
going to be soul point for RTT. They've got this one in the bag, no chance of contest. And man, my boy Sigi and mispositioning around Dragon, name a more iconic duo.
Right now, Sigi has just been mispositioning, just falling at the wrong times, and it's just not what you want to see out of your AD carry.
I just I knew I would be able to work the name a more iconic duo joke back in, so I left it on the back burner, and it did pay off.
It did pay off.
We're happy about that one.
Sigi once again getting caught, and he is their strongest member, sitting on 2 items with finishing up that collector, and Visindra sitting on maybe 1.5-ish. The components for Zhonya's almost finished up there. Has that Everfrost, so it's going to be able to provide a little bit more utility, but right now I just think she's a caster minion. That ultimate
Yeah,
doing barely
definitely
any
sitting
damage.
at caster minion slash stun bot as the role. You do get some pretty effective stuff out of the Everfrost. A lot of time that you can create for your team by Everfrosting into Scout of the Week, but in terms of actual damage output, yeah, you're not relying on Doinby for anything.
Oh, here he comes! Here he comes! He's going! Dardock fanboy's gonna use that chem tank and it's just gonna be suppressing him. Molinax is tanky though, but the Death Realm gonna come through, and Alios is gonna try and get a kill here. And he does some decent damage even with only tank items built, and the banana is in the area. That's gonna be a nice kill for him. The flash is gonna fail from Invictus. Oh, he did not flash, never mind. That was the Alistar flash and stopping that from happening. And here comes the ultimate from Invictus Rakan, and this could be a kill onto Dardock Fanboy. He is very, very low, and a lot of damage coming through Sigi, able to claim that one. Headbutt away. Sigi is still in this fight, but Alios putting in some damage, putting in some numbers, and Raikage is here when you need him. Flawless duet, not gonna land inside, is gonna be able to claim that one.
Yeah, and
oh no,
it just feels like
oh no, the flashbang
No way.
edge is gonna land. Doinby, no, Doinby, no,
no.
he's gonna fall once again, and he just overstepped his bounds once again.
as an overall message, because Doinby's death ties into what I was going to say even before it happened. As a PSA to IDNM, you can't be walking up like that.
No, you can't be.
I think IDNM really has a disconnect with how far behind they are. They had an opportunity before most of this occurred to really slow the game down. You can still win this game even if you have to surrender Mountain Soul. But even if Mountain Soul was the only thing that you fought for, nothing that has happened so far would require you to take any of the team fights that you've taken.
They've just taken up a lot of bad fights, and it's just not what you want to see out of them. And
No inhibitors threatened and no soul point quite yet, so they actually haven't been required for anything except for possibly wave state and XP
And
if they're
potentially the
going
Baron,
to get
but
choked out.
I think they're fine.
Yeah,
to keep
the
that one
Baron
as well.
maybe. I think they can survive a Baron. That's more of a choice thing if they felt like they had a chance to contest it. That's more an individual case-by-case basis call.
Unfortunately, though, oh, Dardock might be able to find something, and a nice combo from onto Banana, gonna land onto 3, and this is gonna run out of that one. He is very, very fast with that Dead Man's Plate. And the Lucidity Boots keeping his combo nice on cooldown. So, he's very, very tanky, and the only damage that he has to worry about is coming from that Kaisa, because I'm sorry, but the Syndra just doesn't do anything right now. She might be able to provide some CC, but she just doesn't do anything. That combo landed right onto the Skarner, and maybe like 5 HP went away.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you called it in Champ Select, it was a good read. Syndra just doesn't do anything in this matchup, especially if she falls behind, and not picking up any of the kills, sitting at 3 assists but no kill gold means you're even delaying your items further. Is fantastic, but the one thing it doesn't do is provide you a lot of upfront burst, like something like a Ludens would have.
Ludens, or even Leontius could have been good because there are a lot of tanky members, but the Everfrost just isn't doing it. Everyone just every champion is able to get away from that before it's able to proc, because the Skarner has Phase Rush, the Aurelia has her Blade Surge, Saya has that Gale Force, Alistar doesn't care, and Mordekaiser is Mordekaiser.
Yeah, Mordekaiser, if he's getting hit by Everfrost, is
Oh
probably
no,
in the death realm
Nolan
already.
is doing a lot of damage to Raikage, but the stat check is just too much. Too strong is that stat check. And that is just going to be a kill for Raikage, but it was a lot closer than it should have been.
And I mean,
Oh,
despite its
Sigi!
closeness,
Sigi got ulted by the Mordekaiser, and he's just taking so much damage, and the shield hasn't even popped for Alios, and that's just going to be a solo kill for him. Good as Zonya's the Syndra ultimate. I don't even think he needed to at this point. He is so incredibly tanky, it doesn't even matter. He's just able to walk away with half HP while taking down almost everyone who came to contest him.
I mean, it's clear at this point that IDNM is looking for desperation plays because they feel like that's their only option left, but I feel like you can set up a higher percentage desperation play than having Molinax try to 1v1 the strongest member on the enemy team, and then having Sigi immediately following that walk in ult range of the tankiest member on the enemy team.
I think it's fine to walk in ult range if he had the QSS, but unfortunately still hasn't paid that tax yet. But Invictus Rakan just going to get pulled away by that Death's Grasp. The ultimate is going to come through that chasm, but Doinby going to get pulled in by Skarner, and that's just a dead Syndra once again, and Invictus Rakan taking a lot of damage, but Sigi once again caught out and is going to fall on that backside. And in goes the Olaf, and out goes the Olaf. No, he's not even going to be able to run away from that one. The Blade Caller claiming this one in. Bullet Axe, oh, the Vanguard's Edge going to go wide once again. Raikage is not going to be able to claim that kill on Molan Axe, but Molan just isn't able to do anything, unfortunately, and he's gonna have to watch as his kingdom crumbles around him. He has to kiss First Seed goodbye, and this is just gonna be another victory for RTT.
Yeah, way too far behind to mount any reasonable defense here. So, a fantastically played game from RTT. They basically just gave everything. Yeah, they gave everything that IDNM gave them, and didn't overstep.
Oh no, Molan! No, the combo gonna land, and he's stuck in the death on QSS. It's gonna keep him alive, but the Death Grasp gonna pull him in, and Sigi, but that's just gonna be the end of the game. Well played.
Yeah, GG's. I expected the series to be a little bit closer, but RTT came out looking for domination, and it's exactly what they got.
Definitely. Auli playing very, very well. Raikage playing very, very well. And facilitating that was Dardoch. But don't forget, I'm the Banana just constantly diving everyone over and over again. I honestly think, yes, Raikage played very, very well, but he already got an MVP. I'm giving this one to I'm the Banana.
Oh yeah, I'm the Banana gets my vote just for the sheer number of combos and roams he pulled off post 6. 17 assists. Look at the man's KP.
Exactly. Look at that KP. It was insanity. He was putting out so much work, making sure that he was all around the map. Going top, going mid, going bot, ganking his own lane. Diving his own lane over and over again. Just making sure that everyone had their stomachs filled tonight. I guess you just never give I'm the Banana Alistar ever again, honestly.
No, definitely. I mean, definitely not. He showed up and performed on it in both games this series.
And he did. He showed up. I guess he put on a suit and tie tonight and was like, I gotta look clean, I gotta look sharp tonight. And he was as sharp as a razor blade. He was cutting through everyone, going left and right everywhere, all across the map. And we gotta give our support boy some love here. And I think he definitely deserves it. Raikage played well. Aulios played well. Alcalora played very well. Dardoch fanboy played very well. Everyone played very, very well. But a lot of that facilitation from I'm the Banana allowed them to play very well. Gave them those slight edges that they needed. And overall, well played, though. Well played series. Everyone performed tonight. These boys were out for blood here. Every single member of the Tsunami was on a wave for first place. They wanted that first seed. They were looking for it. So you guys can take a look and vote for your player of the game. And we will be back for a little bit of a breakdown before we do end for tonight. So hope to see you guys there. We will be right back. But overall thoughts, who do you think deserves player of the game? And I think you've already said it, but I'd love to hear it one more time.
Oh, it's I'm the Banana for sure.
Definitely. I think Banana played incredibly well, and I'd have to give him my signage as well. He definitely deserves player of the game for how he played. So a nice, clean 2-0 series for RTT, playing it incredibly, incredibly well. So we'll see you guys in just a second. Don't forget to vote. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah.
No place to call my own. Yeah, I'm hoping if somebody brings me home. Tell me you're not lost out at sea. Tell me that you're listening to me, feeling misplaced. between two different things. Yeah, I'm thinking too much, I'm bursting at the seams. Tell me I'm not lost out at sea. Tell me they are listening to me, feeling misplaced. Someone rescue me. Someone rescue me. Someone take me. I'm floating. Someone save me.
Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm going to turn down this music as we do announce our player of the game, and it's Mr. I'm the Banana on that Alistar, going 4-2-17, playing it very, very well, just roaming all around the map and facilitating his team, just being a presence all around. And I definitely think he deserved player of the game here. 6 votes for him, gigantic vote share, and what more can I say other than that's what you want to see out of an Alistar. You don't want to see him sitting in lane. You want to see him all around. You want to see him in the top lane. You want to see him in the enemy jungle. You want to see him in that mid lane. You just want to see him not in lane.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of map impact, if you compare his Alistar to either of the supports picked up and played on the other side of the map, there's no difference. I mean, there's a massive difference. It's night and day. There's no comparison.
And I think a lot of it was just not being able to track I'm the Banana's movements. Banana was able to move around the map and not get punished for it. They never dove the Kaisa or Xayah either game. They just let Alistar do his thing, and he wasn't punished for it. So I think a lot of it has to do with a lack of vision control and a lack of keeping tabs on where the laners were, because there were a lot of good roams from every member of the entire team. They were able to get to objectives early. They were able to push in their waves early. They were able to do everything they wanted early. And I think a lot of that has to do with vision control, knowing they can push without being ganked, knowing they can push without getting punished, and knowing they can roam without getting punished. And that
Yeah,
a lot of
which is just another it's just another point to toss up on the board for Banana, because that's his vision control for the most part, especially around the dragon and bot side early, that he's creating those opportunities for himself. So
Mhm.
I mean, it's just another thing to tack onto his effectiveness in the game.
So, if we are going to talk about IDNM, I think one thing they needed to work on was definitely a lot of vision control. We did see that that the support did stick around in lane a little bit too long, was not roaming like he needed to do, and especially if you know you're into an Alistar, because Alistar was picked both games, and very early in the draft in game number 1, and in game number 2, he was still picked first phase, so you know what you're playing into. You know what you have to do if you're laning into that Alistar. You know he's not going to be there. So you have to be able to predict where he's going to be, or maybe not predict where he's going to be, but make a play where he cannot be. And unfortunately,
Yeah,
they weren't making those.
no, especially when you know that that Alistar's looking to roam to get key lanes like the Aurelia v Syndrome matchup in game 2 ahead, then you know what to expect. And also when you find yourself coming late to a bunch of neutral objectives due to being behind, which they did a lot, you
Hmm.
definitely can't send Sigi in first. I mean, Sigi face checked, I think, into about 3 of his deaths or 4 of his deaths across the whole series. It's definitely somebody else's job, if you don't have the ability to ward up ahead of time, to walk in with sweepers first before you ever have your AD carry in that kind of position.
Definitely. So one player I also want to talk about is Aulios. So even though he did solo die, he got solo killed in game number 1, but he lost the lane gracefully. He didn't give up much farm. He didn't go for plays he know he couldn't make. He made sure his jungler was there when he played aggressively. So even though he did lose a lane, he lost gracefully, and that's a lot of things that we're not seeing out of these top laners in some of these leagues. They're not losing lane gracefully. They're not accepting their defeat and knowing what they have to do. They need to just look to CS, get experience. Yes, they're going to get zoned off the wave. Yes, you're behind, but all you have to do now is just sit and try and scale. Don't take fights you know you can't win. Don't make bad opportunities for yourself. Don't make opportunities for the enemy team. And Molin Axe did make a couple of those opportunities for the enemy team, especially in game number 2 when looking for that kill onto the Xayah. He knew Alistar was there. He had a good opportunity beforehand, but he did not go for that one and opted for a one a little bit later, and unfortunately that did cause his death.
The other thing I want to praise Alios for, and this is kind of what I think is the mindset that creates the ability to lose gracefully, is just being team focused. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he absorbed so much pressure in both games, but in game 2, recognizing that Raikage had a massive lead and then just opting to build full tank on Mordekaiser and playing for the ability to remove a person in team fight, knowing that you're probably not going to get nearly as many kills as you could have in a game where you're that far ahead, but had the comeback even started, they would have had a much harder time in team fight than if they just had to deal with damage Mordekaisers. So it's that kind of
Exactly.
mindset that makes him so effective in this game.
Alios definitely had a great mindset coming into both games here, playing that Mordekaiser very, very well. And yes, thank you. He did do the second most damage. He was very, very strong. And even as that full tank, he knew what he had to do. He was playing weak side for a lot of that game. For a lot of game number 2, he had to lose his first tower. He had to walk away. But he was able to output a lot of damage and try and get some trades, even though he was alone. But a lot of it had to do with draft. And I think overall, whoever is drafting for RTT is doing a great job, and I think whoever's drafting for IDNM needs to go back to the drawing board, unfortunately.
Yep, that'll close the book on this series. A
Mm-hmm.
fantastically played game from RTT. Really good draft, really good understanding of where their points of power were, and it's a tough break for IDNM. I'd like to see them come back stronger. We know that they're capable of it based on their record and how they've performed in the past. So
Definitely. So thanks you for joining me. Oh, thank you for coming on a little bit short notice, and thank you for all the players for giving us a nice game to watch, a good series. But unfortunately, IDNM just needs to go back to the drawing board and think over a couple of things. They definitely have it in them. We've seen them play a lot better. So I'm definitely hoping they come back fighting for playoffs here coming up very, very soon. And I think RTT is looking like a big contender here as playoffs do come up. And it's first place for them. They're looking very strong. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. We have LTS playing tomorrow. We have the Diamond League, the prestigious league, as well as some of the Valorant stuff happening on the weekend. And don't forget to come and join us for Let's Talk Legends. So thank you guys. Have a good night. And here we go. We have some music from one of our creators on the Legends team. So hopefully you guys enjoy that as we do end this stream. So take care, everyone. Have a good night.